Hey guys, it's Khalid here. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about how to get into a STEM degree at Oxford, Cambridge, and Imperial. So, why should you listen to me? Well, I'm an Imperial College London graduate myself. I studied chemical engineering there. I got 2 A stars and 2 A's at A level, so 2 A stars in maths and chemistry, 2 A's in further maths and physics. And I've also helped other students to get offers from Oxbridge and Imperial. So, hopefully, the advice I'm going to give in this video is going to be helpful for you guys. And to be completely honest with you, this is the advice that I would tell my younger self if I were to start year 12 again, or if I were to be in year 10 or year 11. This is the advice that I would tell my younger self to follow, honestly. And if you follow this advice, then I think you massively boost your chances of actually being made an offer. Now, the key thing you have to understand is that if you want to get into Oxbridge, Imperial, MIT, Harvard, any other top university around the world, this is something that pretty much everyone in the world wants to get into. So you're competing against literally everyone else out there. And if you want to actually make it happen, first of all, you need to work hard. And second, you need to start as early as possible. And if you can do those two things, then you massively boost your chances. So hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very hard. You're going to have to work hard to actually make it happen. It is definitely possible, if you work hard. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's jump straight into the first point, the first step that you need to take if you want to actually get into Oxbridge, Imperial, or any other top university around the world. The first thing you need to do is you need to know how to study. So the reason why you need to know how to study is because you need to have top grades to get in. So if you look at the admissions requirements for, I'm going to talk about UK universities because that's what I know. If you look at things like admissions requirements to get into a STEM course at Cambridge or Imperial, typically the minimum offer that you need to reach is 2 A stars and 2 A stars and an A, or 2 A stars and 2 A's. Okay, so if you're doing 4 A levels, you need to do 2 A stars and 2 A's. If you're doing 3 A levels, it's typically 2 A stars and 1 A. So you need to have top grades to get in. You also need to have top GCSE grades as well, if possible, because that's going to help to boost your application. So what you also want to do is try and get as many 8s and 9s as possible, and as many grades as possible in the 7 to 9 range for your GCSEs. That's really important. So what you want to have is many GCSEs in 7 to 9 range. Let me quickly change the color of this pen. So you want to have many GCSEs in 7 to 9 range, all right? And you need basically A stars at A level. That's what you kind of need to get in if you want to just meet the minimum requirement. If you actually look at the data for all of the applicants who apply to Cambridge, for example, because Cambridge actually released this data. If you just search on the internet, what do they know? So search what do they know, and then search your course, and then search Cambridge, then you can find application statistics of the applicants who've applied there. You can also do it for Oxford as well, but Imperial don't release it from what I've seen. So hopefully that makes sense. But Oxford and Cambridge definitely release their statistics. And if you look at all of the applicants, right, you can see their average, their predicted grades for A levels, and you can also see some of their admissions test scores and stuff like that, right, if you're interested. But what I want to say is that every applicant who applies to a STEM course at Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial pretty much has straight A stars predicted for A levels. It's either 3 A stars or 4 A stars predicted. So that is what you need. You actually need to have 3 or 4 A stars predicted for your A levels. That's a key requirement. This is not something that's like negotiable, by the way. 3 to 4 A stars predicted for A level is kind of what you need. I'm going to put a box around that because it's very important. So if you don't have this, then it's highly unlikely that you'll be invited to interview, right, which is the next step in the process. So you got to make sure you have this down. And the only way you can get this down is if you know how to study and you work hard. Right, so learning how to study is the best thing that you can do when it comes to this. The reason why I say that is because you have access to unlimited information now, right? Because of the internet, because of YouTube, technically no one needs a tutor anymore, right? Because everyone has one-to-one tutoring for free on the internet, right? So what you want to do, because you have access to unlimited information, the information is not the constraint, it's how you use the information that is the constraint on your success. So if you don't know how to use the information effectively to study and to absorb and learn and digest this information efficiently and quickly, then that's going to be the thing that limits your success and also how fast you achieve this success. So if you have two people with the same work ethic, the same access to resources, but they have different studying strategies, one has a more effective and one has a less effective strategy, then you can clearly see that the person that has a more effective strategy is going to get things done way faster and is going to have a much nicer experience at GCSEs and A level and will still get better results than the other person who's working super hard. And the reason why I'm saying you need to learn how to study is because when I was in my A-levels, I didn't know how to study effectively. And I wasted tons of time. And I was that person that was working super hard but was being inefficient and was wasting all my time. So I'm telling you from my experience, it's not fun. It's not a fun place to be. Honestly, you can have a very good experience at A-level, literally enjoying your social life, literally doing whatever you want, and also getting 4 A stars and getting into Cambridge and Oxford. It's definitely possible if you know how to study effectively. So that's what I would say you should do. When it comes to this, what would I say that you should do when it comes to learning how to study effectively? Look at the YouTubers and all the YouTube videos that are out there on how to study for maths, further maths, chemistry, physics, A-level, and also GCSE subjects as well. So if you're watching this and you're in year 10 or you're in year 9, you can learn how to study now if you want. Just watch like the videos on like how to get a 9 at GCSE history or how to get a 9 in GCSE English, etc. And take some of their advice and start to maybe make some steps towards that. Maybe you're going to learn how to set up Anki and start using that when you're in year 10. Or maybe you're going to learn about the specification and what that means and how it works, etc. So learning how to study is a very important step, and that's something that you should focus on in your A-levels and in your GCSEs, and try and get as many 7s to 9s and A's and A stars at A-level. So hopefully that makes sense. Another reason why I think you should learn how to study is because when you actually go to university, because if you follow this advice, you're highly likely to actually get in. So when you do get in, you're going to actually struggle to cope with the demands of university if you don't know how to study effectively. If you don't have your own system down in terms of, okay, this is how I absorb and learn information, and then this is how I study, and this is how I do X, Y, Z, then when you go to university, you're going to struggle. Because what I've seen, at least from my experience at Imperial for that course, they didn't really teach us how to study. They kind of expected us to know how to study. And they just gave us the difficult concepts and material and problem sheets, and we were expected to use that, digest it, and understand it. So hopefully that makes sense. Learning how to study will also help you when you actually get to university in terms of coping with what happens at university and in order to actually get the results that you want when it comes to university too. So hopefully that makes sense there. So that's the first thing you need to do. That's step 1. You need to know how to study. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and you need those top grades if you actually want to make a decent application. So hopefully that makes sense. That's the first step. Let's move on to the next one. The next thing you need to do is you need to improve your problem solving skills in the relevant subject that you are applying for at university. So problem solving skills, if you don't know what they are, is the ability to tackle hard questions that you've never seen before and get them correct, right? Starting from absolute zero, literally starting by knowing nothing about the question. Can you read that question? Can you break it down? Can you understand it, digest it, and basically solve it and basically figure out what they're telling you to do, right? So problem solving is a skill. I mentioned it's a skill. It's not something that people naturally have. They have to cultivate and develop the skill with, lots and lots of problems. Like the super smart people that you see out there that can solve international maths Olympiad problems, they weren't born like that. They spent thousands of hours over many years to build their problem solving skills to that level. So that is something that you should be doing as well. If you're watching this and you're in year 12, it's already kind of too late technically, but you can still do a lot when it comes to improving your problem solving. And I'll talk about that in a second. But if you're watching this right now and you happen to be in year 9 or year 10, then if you do this right now, like let's say you're interested in Cambridge Maths or Cambridge Computer Science. If you start on this now and you're able to get to a very high standard by the time you apply, I feel like the chance of you actually getting an offer is so much higher, honestly. You're going to be way further ahead of the competition, and you'll also smash the admissions test and your interview because of your problem solving skills. So hopefully that makes sense. It's such an important skill that you need to have for a strong university application. And not only that, when you actually go to university, there are going to be tough problems at university that are harder than A-level and GCSE. And so if you're able to train your problem solving skills now with problems that are harder than A-level and GCSE, when you get to university, there's not going to be a big jump. It'll be very normal to you, and you'll be at the top of your class when you get to university as well. It's that simple. Hopefully that makes sense. Another thing I want to say when it comes to problem solving is that if you're able to reach the upper echelons of that skill for your subject, so let's say for example you want to work on maths problem solving or computer science problem solving or physics problem solving, for your age range, if you're watching this and you're in secondary school right now, the highest tier problem solving you could do for each individual subject is the International Science Olympiad for that subject. So it's either the International Maths Olympiad, International Physics Olympiad, International Informatics Olympiad, etc. And if you can get to that international Olympiad level, then you're in a really top tier of student, essentially, in terms of problem solver. And those people, if you look at, I want you to maybe research this yourself so you can understand what I'm trying to say. I want you to have a look at all of the students who got medals, right, in the International Maths Olympiad. Have a look at all the gold medalists, right? Have a look at the silver medalists, have a look at the bronze medalists. And what I want you to do is actually look at the guys from the UK. I feel like that will make it easier. But if you are like from the US, also have a look at the Americans. If you're from another country, have a look at people from your country, etc. But generally speaking, this video is going to be watched by people in the UK. Have a look at where the British team end up in terms of university. What universities did they actually end up at? And like, I have yet to see a student from the UK who's represented the UK at an international level for an international science Olympiad who doesn't go to Oxford or Cambridge. I haven't seen it yet. And I've spent hours researching this as well. I haven't seen it yet. Maybe there is someone that I haven't seen. Maybe some very obscure Olympiad that I haven't actually looked into. But just from what is apparent, pretty much all of the guys get into Trinity or another top college at Cambridge, or they go to Oxford to study physics or something like that. So the reason why that happens, in my opinion, is because they've developed their problem-solving skills to such a high standard that when they actually do their admissions test and their interviews, they're able to cope with the problems that the other students would struggle to answer and would bottle in the actual interview. So because they have such good problem-solving skills, they're able to actually prepare for the admissions test and score really highly, naturally, without even trying too hard. And in the interview, they're going to smash it as well because they already have the right skills. They've cultivated the right sorts of skills before they came to uni. So hopefully that makes sense there. And that's kind of what you want to be replicating, essentially. Like, if possible, you want to go for a national or international Olympiad, because as you're training for these things, you will be improving your problem-solving skills. So this is what I would say. So if you're in year 10, my advice for you would be to train for the national or international science Olympiad for your relevant subject, okay? If you're interested in multiple subjects, if you're in year 10, you can actually study for multiple subjects, okay? So I'm putting the S in brackets. So if you're interested in multiple subjects at university, you can train for multiple different Olympiads right now if you're in year 10, because you have plenty of time. So doing this is going to help to improve your problem solving skills. So as you're training, you're still getting better. So like, let's say for example, you're training, but you're not going to actually sit the International Olympiad. It doesn't matter. More than likely, you'll get the National Olympiad medal, which is perfectly fine. And it's actually really good as well to get the National Olympiad. But even if you don't get the International Olympiad or even the National Olympiad, you still have good problem solving skills by the end of it. So it's not like you're wasting your time. Right? You're still going to get the problem solving skills that you need anyways. So you might as well train for it and at least aim for a specific goal, aim for a specific target. But even if you fall short, you basically know that you've still not wasted your time, essentially. It's still valuable skills that you developed. Right? So hopefully that makes sense. That's what I would say if you're in year 10. If you're in year 12, it's quite similar. I wouldn't say train for the National Olympiad, but I would say just allocate some time each week for problem solving, basically. So allocate some time each week to focus on problem solving and basically work on that. Okay. So when it comes to resources that you can use for this, again, if you're in year 10, training for the National and International Science Olympiad, it's quite a simple pathway that you need to kind of take. Right. So for maths, you want to focus on UKMT stuff. For physics, you want to focus on like the British Physics Organization, DPHO. For chemistry, I feel like it's the Royal Society Chemistry, RSC. So have a look at the Royal Society stuff. For biology, there's some other stuff, and also research it yourself, right? You can use ChatGPT to research it, like what is the International Science Olympiad for the UK and how can I compete in that, etc. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're in year 12, you kind of want to do similar stuff. You still want to do like Olympiad style questions, but you want to be more flexible, I feel like, at this stage, because there's not really much time left until you apply to university. So you want to allocate some time each week to focus on problem solving. That's a non-negotiable. But you can be more flexible with the resources that you use. So for maths, what I would say is you can choose anything between UKMT stuff. You can do Olympiad stuff if you want. You can also do step questions. I would say these two are the things that I would focus on if I were you and I was doing maths and I was in year 12 and I wanted to focus on maths problem solving. I would do one or two of these or a mixture, honestly. That's what I would do. And then for science, what I would do is the Isaac Physics, okay? And also like any science Olympiads. So National Science Olympiads stuff. The reason why I say the Science Olympiads is because you don't really need to learn new content to do the Science Olympiads. Whereas for the Maths Olympiad, there is a little bit of new content that you kind of need to study that you haven't done at school. So that would take a bit of extra effort. But for science, I feel like you could do both of these things. And then for computer science, I think maybe have a look at some of the USACO stuff. So the American, United States, Olympiad. And you can also do some like competitive programming. So like LeetCode, or you can do some Code Force and stuff like that. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, it doesn't really matter, but just allocate some time each week to focus on that problem solving for the subjects, and that should be fine. Okay, so make sure it's in the relevant subject, etc. So I would say, if you're in year 12, you want to focus on 2 subjects max. Right? So 2 subjects max. So let's say, for example, you're not sure about doing maths or physics at university, or engineering, but you can clearly see that you need maths and physics problem solving if you want to apply for any of those courses. So you do maths and physics. I wouldn't advise doing more than 2 just because you might be spread too thin in year 12 and you're not really going to make much progress in any one subject essentially. So I feel like 2 subjects is the absolute max. Ideally 1 subject, but I can understand that 2 subjects probably is also something that people might want to do, especially if you're applying for a subject which kind of straddles 2 different subjects. Like for example, engineering straddles maths and physics, chemical engineering strands like maths and chemistry. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense there. So that's the second thing you need to do. You need to work on your problem solving skills each week, right? And you need to work as much as possible on this, and realize that the further up I can go, in the Olympiad track, the higher likelihood that I will actually have very good problem solving skills, and I'll be able to transfer that in the actual admissions process when I start applying to university. Trust me, it happens. I want you to just have a look at all the people who've succeeded in the international stage for the UK. Just to have a look at them. Just research it yourself and have a look at where they end up. They all end up at Cambridge and Oxford, honestly. So just look into that. And if you can replicate their journey to year 12, then you're going to replicate their results as well, technically, right? Highly likely. I can't guarantee anything in life, right? No one can guarantee anything in life, innit? But honestly, like if I were like to go back, I would honestly tell my younger self to do this, because like this is so sick. Like if you can do this, you're gonna put yourself in such a strong position, guys. I promise you. So that's what you want to do when it comes to the problem solving stuff. Make sure you do problem solving each week. Next, you also want to explore your interests and passions in the relevant subjects. So if, for example, you are interested in maths or computer science, you want to do problem solving, of course, and that is technically one way that you can explore your interests and passions. You can literally just say that because I'm so interested in maths and I enjoy doing it in my free time, I've been training for the International Science and Maths Olympiads because I find it fun and interesting. And honestly, if you don't find it fun and interesting, you're probably not going to be able to stick with step 2. And maybe that would tell you that you're not really that interested in that subject, and it will help you to sort of identify if you actually want to go down this path or not. So I feel like step 2 is also a good way to figure out what you want to do at university as well. Because if you, for example, you don't like solving coding problems, but you love maths problems, then maybe you enjoy a maths degree more than a computer science degree, right? So it would help you to narrow down what you want to do at uni as well. So problem solving is one way to explore your interests and passions, but are there any other things that you want to do? And I think that is something that I think you also want to do some extra things basically outside of problem solving to explore your interests and passions a bit more. So for example, if you're interested in maths and you're interested in like some topics that you've studied, I think what will happen is as you go through step 2, you will start to identify things that interest you. And then you want to explore those things in more detail. For example, for maths, you might be interested in like prime numbers and stuff like that. And so you'd watch more videos or you'd read some books on that and really try to understand that. And then maybe that would kind of lead you to go back and try some more problems on prime numbers and stuff like that. So hopefully that makes sense. And I think if you're also doing like a subject which allows you, or you have the capability to do some practical projects, like for example, computer science, you can make some code, right? You can make some code, you can make some software, a game, an AI, something like that, whatever you want, whatever's interesting to you is what I'm trying to say here. So don't try and force yourself to do AI if you don't care about AI. Don't force yourself to make a game if you don't care about games. Focus and make what you're personally passionate and interested in, because that's what you're going to put more time into, and you're going to get better results and a better quality outcome. Okay. For example, if you're interested in electrical engineering, maybe you're interested in robotics. Maybe you could basically make your own robot, if possible, at home. Maybe get some Arduinos. Maybe learn about robotics and how it works and stuff. And if you start early in year 10 or year 11, you have plenty of time to make that happen. And again, look for some other practical projects that you could do potentially for your chosen subject. And also, if you want some ideas, ChatGPT could also be a good source of ideas potentially to figure out, okay, what can I practically do to really explore my interest. I would say don't do this to just make a strong application. I mean, it would help you to make a strong application, to be honest with you. But I would say do it out of your genuine curiosity and passion, and don't force yourself to do it. All right, that's what I would say. I would say don't force yourself to do it. I would say step 2, technically you should be forcing yourself a little bit to do the problem solving, because I think for most people, if they don't actually allocate time to do it, they're not going to actually get it done. But I feel like for this, you'll naturally, if you're naturally interested in the subjects, you will just automatically explore it naturally yourself in it. So I don't think you need to kind of stress on this point too much. But definitely have some sort of tangible things that you're doing as well to explore your interest in more detail, right? So for practical subjects, try and make something physical if you can. For non-practical subjects like maths and physics, and you can't really like have a reactor at home, or you can't really do much with physics in it, unless you get some like electricity and stuff like that. Maybe you can be a bit more creative than I'm being right now, but hopefully that makes sense. For like the non-practical subjects, I would say research, reading, watching stuff, listening to podcasts, stuff like that would be very helpful. So hopefully that makes sense there. So pretty much that's all you need to do when it comes to like actually getting in. Like you can boil everything down to those 3 things, because all they care about is someone who's academically, you can say, gifted, academically excellent, and has the ability to succeed on the course. So basically, because the university course is way harder than A-level, they want to pick the people who have the highest likelihood of getting a first if they were to join the course. And they're also looking for people who would be a good fit for them in terms of their teaching style and stuff. So yes, you might apply to, for example, Oxford and Cambridge and not get in. Not because you're not brilliant, because you could have IMO Gold and still not get in if you're not a good fit for like their tutorial system. But hopefully that makes sense. Like you still might get rejected, but I feel like if you're able to make a strong application to Oxbridge, then you're basically getting into Imperial as well. That's basically my experience. That's been the experience for most people that I've seen who've kind of applied to Oxbridge and Imperial. And pretty much that's all you need to focus on, honestly. Like, if I were to go back, I think the main reason why I didn't get into Cambridge and Oxford, I will tell you right now, is first of all, I didn't know how to study effectively. Now, the reason why I say this didn't let me get in was because if you don't know how to study effectively, it kind of takes away the time for step 2 and step 3. So if you mess up on step 1, if you don't know how to study effectively, then you're going to have less time to do step 2 and step 3. And so it kind of hinders you overall. So this is the first thing you need to focus on. If you don't have this down, you have to fix this as fast as you can. And you have to always make sure you're being as optimal as possible when it comes to learning how to study efficiently and studying in general. Because you want to free up as much time as possible to do step 2 and step 3. And that's how you really boost the chance of getting an offer. So because I didn't know how to study, I wasted tons of time on this step, and I didn't have any time for step 2 and step 3, pretty much. Secondly, as I just mentioned, I didn't have any time to do step 2, so I didn't develop my problem solving skills at all. And I really struggled with the interview and the admissions test, honestly. So you need to work on these problem solving skills, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It takes many months and years to build these skills, so work on them as early as possible, right? So I would say those are the 2 things that kind of messed me up. I think I had a reasonable amount of passion and interest to get in. I mean, I got an interview for Cambridge and Oxford. I took a year out to reapply as well, by the way. So I applied to both Oxford and Cambridge, and I still didn't get to either one of those because I didn't really have good problem solving skills, and I didn't know how to study effectively. That's just generally speaking what I think personally. Literally, if you are brilliant, if you are top tier, if you have good problem solving skills, if you're a good student, if you have good results, good grades, then they're going to take you because they know that you're going to have a good chance of getting an offer, right? And if you're really brilliant, and if you have like an International Science Olympiad gold medal, then there's a very high chance you'll get an offer. Like, they can't really say that you have to have this to get an offer, but if you look at the data, if you look at like all the people who have got these medals, they all end up at the top universities because of the fact they have good problem solving skills. So hopefully that makes sense there. So that's pretty much it. Those are the things you need to focus on. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you are in year 12 or year 10 and you're interested in getting some help with actually getting into a top university, take a look at my coaching program. You can join it. The link is in the description. It's for people who actually want to get into Oxbridge Imperial for STEM, literally. So if that is not the case, if you're not interested in getting into Oxbridge or Imperial for STEM, or if you're just happy with getting A stars and you just want to go to a normal uni, then this isn't for you. It's only for people who want to get into the best universities in the world. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're interested, click the link below. I am going to start offering it for younger students as well, if they can show me that they are passionate and interested in actually making this happen, because I feel like if you're a younger student and you join, we can work on the Olympiad stuff and get you set up, teach you how to study and get you on the track to success. So hopefully that makes sense. That's it for this video. Hopefully you found it useful, and I'll see you guys on the next one.